All right. Well, good evening. We are back. Woo!
Yes,
Welcome to 2021. Women with Grit. So excited. Lee,
very
how
much.
have you been?
I've been great. I tell you what, this shirt doesn't quite fit like it used to uh, pre holidays, but
Holidays.
started back yesterday getting it back together.
That's awesome. Well, we are back in the flavor of new. I was telling Laquita backstage, my motto this year is new. What did I say? New you, new year, new you. Illuminate your new hue. You see, I have a new do. I cut and colored my hair.
Yes,
Cut and colored. Something new. Well,
that's all good.
yes, well, we are so excited that you all are back. We are back. We missed you guys, and we are looking forward to an amazing, amazing series ahead. We are kicking it off with a phenomenal woman by the name of Laquita Stribling, who you will get an opportunity to meet here in just a moment. And I'm sorry, Laquita. I got it this time. Yes. Who you'll get an opportunity to meet here in just a moment. But before we do, go ahead and like, share, and make sure that you will see your friends on here as well. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to experience this amazing woman. I mean, her reputation precedes her. But before we jump into it, let's make sure that we go ahead and give credits to our sponsors. Lee, you want to tee those up for us?
Hey, of course, let's do it. We want to shout out. Before I even do that, I know a lot of us are thinking in terms of things we can do to have a better 2021. Good friend of mine, Daryl Freeman, does this series called Cockpit Conversations. He's got a YouTube channel, and then also he does like Millionaire Fridays or something. But he really talks about just a lot of good things that will help you, whether it's your career, your business, or what have you. So check him out. You can go on his IG page, Daryl Freeman Senior, or look up his YouTube, and he's on Facebook. But I just want to put that out there before we got started. He's not a sponsor, but we want to make sure that you are getting the most out of this year and planning it out the way you want to. I want to shout out MJC Insurance Group. Mr. Leon Wright is the owner. I just got a new quote on my insurance, my auto insurance, and it dropped about 35%. Now I'm not a safe driver, well, I am a safe driver, but I still have a lead foot. But that drop was killer. I was happy with it. So look up Leon Wright and Cassandra at MJCINS.com, MJC Insurance. So MJCINS.com. Give Cassandra or Lisa a shout, and they will be happy to shop over 30 companies for you and help you try to save some money. The insurance company's not going to pay out any more than what your premium, your coverage is. So the only thing you can control is the premium. I had just gotten hit by a car just before Christmas, and so it showed up on my on the record, and she's like, "Oh, you're about to get hit," and I said, "No, it was their fault." So that helped me out a lot too. Yes. So MJC Insurance is one, and then shout out Terrell Perry, TERRELL at MolletteInvestmentServices.com. Terrell at MolletteInvestmentServices.com. Everybody starts off the year saying, "I'm gonna save, I'm gonna invest, I'm gonna get my life right," and then the year comes up and we're in deeper debt, hadn't saved a dime, and we hadn't gotten our lives right. So get started right. Let him help you with your plan for success for this year and help you start building wealth. Another thing that he'll do is help you shop for life insurance. We all need it. We might not want to think about what will happen or the fact that we're going to pass away at some point, but think about the people that you'll be leaving behind. So it's irresponsible of us to not have adequate life insurance to cover our loved one if something untimely happens to us. Just like a car accident, just like anything else, it's too late to get it after you're gone. So,
right.
So make sure you get that. And Sherelle's been cranking up some stuff to help you get your year started out, your 2021. So tell us about what you're working on, Sherelle.
Oh, we have a calendar full of fun events. We are kicking off with our highly regarded and requested Empower series, followed by Execution. So if you have been in a rut and trying to come up out of that rut, definitely want to go to SherelleLance.com and you'll be able to access it there. We've got trainings, curriculum, books that have recently come out. If you're a business and you're in a space where you are trying to dig your way through, do not suffer in silence. Please, please, please. Do not suffer in silence. We have help resources by which we are able to help you get through that and think through it from a strategic perspective. So you can visit us on www.visionstrategymanagement.com. So
there you have. Oh, one other thing. So the table, we launched our website. It's thetableaction.com. Thetableaction.com. We are pushing up close to 100 members. So we're excited about that. And, just take a look at the webpage. I'm not going to take up any more time to tell you about it. We'll talk about it another time, but definitely something you want to get involved in right away. And I think it will be something that will benefit Nashville and as a whole, really helping people of color close up that wealth gap that we're suffering from here.
That's right. Well, let's not belabor it anymore because we have such a stellar guest, and I would love to bring her up, Miss Laquita Stribling.
Laquita Stribling.
Hi, Laquita. I'm so sorry. I got it together. I promise. I got it.
I am so used to it. It's okay.
Right. Yeah. It even made that part of her social media handle.
Yeah, my IG handle. Yes, I thought I'd help them out.
Yes. Well, thank you for definitely joining us on Women with Grit. And as you all know, or those of you who are joining in for the first time, Women with Grit, we are really focused on shining a light on women who are doing amazing things in the community, as well as within their career, and just really exemplifying that whole story of grit. Our goal is really to help next generation women as well by showing them real examples of women who have done it. So, Laquita, quick kick us off. Tell us your unique story of grit.
Wow. I guess probably what's unique about my story is how it all began. And well, let me back up a little bit from that. So I grew up in a really small community in Arkansas. My parents, most of my aunts and uncles went to an HBCU, the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And so it was my dream to go there. So I had the opportunity. I went there on an academic and athletic scholarship. I ran track there. And probably one of the people who had a lot of influence on who I am today is my track coach. His name was Coach U.S. Grant. We called him Chief. And man, he was tough. And he demanded a lot, and you had to, walk a tightrope. And, at the time, I think a lot of times you don't appreciate some of those things as they are happening. But I find myself quoting so many things that he would say to us now as to my children and other people. But I really do think a lot of what he taught us and demanded of us really shaped who I am today and who I am as a leader also. And so I was fortunate enough to leave there and go to graduate school. I thought I wanted to be an attorney. Well, first of all, I thought I wanted to be an English teacher. Then I thought I wanted to go to law school. And then I decided maybe I'd do something in government or write a book. And so I went on to get a master's in public administration with an emphasis in human resources. Mm-hmm. And I finished, and so I went from an HBCU to a primarily white institution. And prior to getting to the University of Memphis, my whole life had been around mostly people who looked just like me. So I grew up in the culture.
Yeah.
And so my first job was for a Dutch company called Randstad. It's a global recruiting company. We're the largest recruiting company in the world. And I think in that moment, I realized that the world was much bigger than I had ever known it to be, because I was suddenly finding myself in the corporate space as being the only one, being the only female in a lot of rooms, the only Black person in a lot of rooms, and in a lot of rooms, the youngest person in business. I'm sorry, what'd you say, Sherelle?
3 knocks.
Yes.
All three nines. Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I think it's easy with as hard as life is in general. It's easy to look at some of those as being barriers and obstacles, but I looked at them as opportunities.
Yeah.
But and Lee, don't laugh. And so by nature, I really am an introvert. A lot of people, even people who don't know me well, don't. I know, Lee. I really am. Who don't really believe that and understand that about me. But I knew that I had to do something about that to be successful in corporate America, because you can't be timid. You can't be, not wanting to talk and engage with people. And so I found that I put myself in places where I was uncomfortable so that I could grow in those areas that I knew from a self-awareness standpoint were opportunity areas of development for me. And that really was the begin of grit, of just throwing myself into some uncomfortable places and situations so that I could own my own growth in that respect.
I think that is phenomenal. Now I'm going to toot your horn a little bit more. So I'm going to read
because she's keeping it way down low.
Yes.
Too,
I'm just going to touch on the layers at the top, just so you guys know the kind of giant that is in the room today. So over the last 24 years, Laquita has worked her way up from entry-level associate to the senior vice president of Randstad. Did I say it right?
No, but that's okay. We're a Dutch-owned company. Nobody in America says it correct.
Right. Okay. But it is the largest provider of human resource solutions. And she is responsible for 3 districts and 12 offices, over 1,200 employees, and approximately 50 million in revenue. She serves as on the Executive Diversity Council for the organization, who was ranked number 30 on the Diversity Inc. Top 100 in 2019. In addition to her career, she has been extremely active in the Nashville community, and not to mention how decorated you are. So I'm just going to list some of the involvements that you have, not all, but president and board chair for Cable from 2020 to 2021. She also serves as the advisory council for the Women's Business Collective and is on the board of directors for the Nashville Sports Council, Teach for America, Nashville, Chattanooga, Second Harvest Food Bank, Mount Zion Baptist Church, and the Nashville State Community College Foundation. In addition, when do you sleep?
I get that sleep.
In addition to all of that, Laquita has been inducted in the YWCA Academy for Women of Achievement, awarded the Mount Zion Bridge Builder Award, Cable Civic Outreach Award, recognized as a woman of influence by the Nashville Business Journal, a nominee for the Athena Award and Women Who Rock Nashville, as well as a recipient of the Power Moves Awards. You guys, you are sitting amongst, just greatness. And I want to just make sure we recognize you for that. So thank you for your contributions.
So let me add that Laquita was the first African-American woman president of the Nashville Rotary Club of Nashville, which is the 3rd largest club in the world.
Yes.
Wow. Perspective, 3rd largest club in the world, and she was only the second African-American president. Frances Guest was, and that was a long time ago, was the first. And then she followed it up to be the first African-American, period, district governor for Rotary for the state of Tennessee. And so just thought I'd add some more things in, but Laquita's right. And she is a loyal listener and participant of Women with Grit.
Yes, thank you.
Y'all are being so nice. Thank you.
It's all true,
Yes. So what has been your inspiration?
Wow, I really see, I guess the scripture of to whom much is given, much is required. Mm-hmm. And, I feel like I've just been so blessed. And I truly believe that God gives all of us a gift. And those gifts are not just for the benefit of ourselves and promoting ourselves. It's really a gift where we also should share and give back to other people. And so I have always, and I think it comes from my mom, because I used to tell her as a kid, I think you look for meetings to go to. She's she's all about service and giving back and helping. And if she will never see a need and not do something about it. And so I guess I just, picked that up from her. And that's just part of who I am. I find myself being overbooked by just getting myself involved into things. I think like John Lewis say, but I try to make it good trouble. But I really do think my mother has been my biggest inspiration. And if you're paying attention at all, there's a lot of things going on, and we all have talent and gifts that we could contribute to making that, whatever that issue is, a better thing.
That is good stuff.
Yep. So Laquita, talk about, many people, period, struggle, but women in particular, and women of color, even more specifically, struggle with the rise from entry level, from even getting their foot in the door to becoming a senior VP, let alone, even trying to get to the C-suite. But, what are some pearls of wisdom that you would give a person that's getting started and they know they want to get to the top? And, quite frankly, some people are truly career corporate people, and really get to the top. You can do really, really well. You can do well all along. But a lot of times women think, or people in general think that, hey, the only way I'm gonna get there is to go start my own company. And I don't really want to do that. But, talk about what you've done to really get there.
I think it's important to have a high level of self-awareness. So really being keenly aware of those things you do really well and what your gifts are, what your passions are. But I think it's just as important to know what are those things I don't do so well, those things I need to work on. And so all my career, what I tried to do, well, first of all, I'll say I never got a promotion because I was trying to get it. I just naturally, if I saw something that needed to be done, then I just do it if I had the skill and ability to do it. And I never realized that people were watching. And each promotion I've ever gotten really was a surprise to me because it wasn't something that I set out to do. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a goal of wanting to get a promotion to the next level. That's just not how my career progressed. Mm-hmm. And so I really think, I'm always assessing what are those things that I need to be working on from a career perspective, because I think if you wait till your boss comes to you and point those things out, it's a little late because they've noticed that's a problem. So I would always try to stay ahead of the game. And sometimes we all have blinders. So there may have been some things that I needed to work on that I wasn't aware of, but there was never a thing that I needed to work on that I could see that I didn't own and do something about myself. If that meant going and reading a book, if that meant going and taking a class, if that meant getting a mentor or some advice from someone, those are the things I did for myself. And I never waited for somebody to come to me with something that I could have been dealing with on my own.
So owning your own career path.
Yes.
And then you talk about going to get education. Sherelle, we've been calling her the wrong name. She's Dr. Laquita Stribling.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. All right. Well, we'll postpone that. You're on your way.
In progress.
Yeah, but talk to us about how you're balancing that. I mean, you're working on a doctorate, and you don't even need it, I don't think, for your career, but you're doing it because you want to. So talk about how you're balancing that and what's driving you to do that.
I was speaking to our CEO who just retired a couple years ago, and we were talking about women and work-life balance. And I love what she said, and I've embraced that way of looking at it. So I don't know, when you have so many things going on, if there's truly ever any balance. And she calls it work-life harmony. And that's the way I have shifted to look at it, because if I look at it from trying to balance, something's not going to win, because, just like all of us only have 24 hours a day. I don't care how wonderful we are, how great we are. And so there's always going to be some things out of balance. But I do think as I've matured and gotten older, I do think that I have repositioned my priorities. Like there are very few things now that I commit to on the weekends because that's really family time and time for me to refresh, time for me to sleep to 11 to 12 o'clock on Saturdays to make up for the rest I've lost during the week. And so I think, those are things that are important of where I really try to own my time and really prioritize how I spend that time so that I'm in more control of the things that I do and the things I don't do. I tell people who work for me all the time, everything's a choice. So when you choose to do something, you're also choosing not to do something else. And so I usually weigh it in that regard of what is the best use of my time right now with all of these competing priorities that I have going on.
Do you find yourself constantly reassessing your time and kind of, like you said, where you're spending it and how you're doing it, especially in today's climate of COVID, where we're indoors and it's almost where the 8 to 5 doesn't exist anymore? It's like 24 hours a day nonstop, and being able to know when to turn it on and when to turn it off.
Well, COVID has really presented a different challenge because I was finding that, it makes you too accessible when we all move to working remotely, because people just assume, well, where else can you be? Because you certainly aren't out anywhere. You're not in the office. You're not in front of customers. You're not doing this or that. And so it really, I found that I was, my back was hurting, my neck was hurting, my eyes were hurting, and the tank was completely empty at the end of the day. And I decided, okay, well, now I'm not going to let this kill me. So a lot of times I even started to have, like, if I had a one-on-one with one of my managers, I would do it while walking. A lot of times when I would be listening to Women with Grit, I was walking before it got dark. And so I would really look at how can I not, really have some of these things going on while doing all these other things. And I really, so I'm very protective of my time. And now, so when you're starting in your career, you want people to want you. So I can remember before I got on any board, it was my desire to be on a board. And now it's like the power of no. And getting to a place where just recently somebody asked me to do something that I would have loved to do, but right now I just don't have the bandwidth to do it. And I hated telling her no. But when I hung up the phone, man, I felt so good and refreshed because there was not that pressure of trying to fit something else into my day.
Right.
Yes.
That's so key. Now, and you balance this with your family, your boy mom.
Yes.
So you and your husband are raising 3 boys, and your older boys. I'm proud of them. I didn't raise them, but I'm proud of them like they're mine. Talk about what they're doing and what you and your husband did to kind of to keep them on track. Because these guys are like world-class athletes. They're not just bookworms. So talk about that. And then you have, you got the little one on the way up too.
Yes. So my oldest son, I'm not sure I even got the right baby at the hospital because he's so unique and I can't fathom that he belongs to me. So he played football 4 years for the University of Missouri. He was a defensive back, but he went there and majored in physics with an emphasis in astronomy. And I remember when Coach Pinkle came to our home to visit during the recruiting process, he asked my son what he wanted to major in. And my son said physics. And Coach Pinkle sat there really quiet for a minute. I wasn't sure what was going on. He said, well, I've been coaching a long time and no one has ever said that to me. And so he graduated from there and he had begun some research with one of the professors there. He's into studying stars and dust and stuff that most of us don't really know or care about. And so she accepted a position at the University of Texas at San Antonio as the dean of that department. And she asked him to go with. And so that's where he is now. And his dream is to be a college professor and he wants to teach physics. He wants to come back home and teach at MTSU. So if you know Dr. McPhee, I've already told Dr. McPhee, but if you will remind him, that'll be great.
All right.
But Lee, you'll be proud to know this guy is all over investments.
Okay.
He is, I mean, if I had done what he's doing now, I probably would be somewhere neighbor to Daryl Freeman on an adjacent island.
Gotcha.
My middle
You're not talking about a local house. You're talking about the island house.
The island house, yes. The local house too. My middle son plays football for Middle Tennessee State University. He too is a defensive back, and he already has graduated with his bachelor's. He's finishing his last semester of getting an MBA at MTSU. Now, I'd like to pause and take just a moment to encourage someone with this story. So the middle son, and y'all, this is why I say God knows what he's doing. Each child I've had has had some situation where I've been able to encourage another parent who's had a child dealing with the same issue. And so the middle son's story is really so inspirational. So I noticed when he was 3, I couldn't understand a thing he was saying. And so I'm thinking, okay, something's not right here. And I probably took him to 10 or 12 healthcare professionals and therapists trying to figure out what was going on. Finally found a lady who said yes, and he was diagnosed with a speech delay. And so we enrolled him in physical therapy, and there was a program that would come and pick him up from daycare and take him and work with him during the day. They had people who would come to our home and work with him. The kid flunked kindergarten. I mean, like not held back, flunked kindergarten. Because where his speech was delayed, his reading was delayed, his writing was delayed. So he was in special ed. We never told him he was in special ed. He had an IEP, and the goal we had for him was for him to have caught up and test out by the time he got to middle school, when kids are, they start to tease you about different things. And so our hope was that he would, get caught up by the time he got to 6th grade. And there was a teacher named Margaret Smith, who was his 5th grade teacher. And she was a hard teacher. I mean, you had to act right in her class, and she demanded a lot of her students. And she told me, when your son doesn't understand, he has this look on his face. So I moved him to where I could always see his face.
Wow.
He flunked kindergarten, made straight A's in the 5th grade.
Wow.
And tested out of, special ed and all of the additional supports he was given. Graduated high school with a 3-point-something, and he claims he was a terrible student. He didn't do much then. While on scholarship playing Division I football, he graduated with his bachelor's with a 3.87.
Wow.
And he's working on his MBA, and he currently has a 4.0.
Wow.
I'm not saying that to brag on him, but I'm saying that for parents who you may be struggling with something, a learning or emotional or mental health issue with your child, don't give up on them. And sometimes teachers don't know what to do. You have to be the advocate for your child. You have to go and find help. Sometimes people will say nothing's wrong. If you know in your gut that something's wrong, keep searching until you find that answer. We didn't tell him he was in special ed because we didn't want him to think he didn't need to try or that he couldn't do it. And I think last summer we were riding in the car. I said, Kylie, have I ever told you that you flunked kindergarten? I never told him he flunked kindergarten. I told him to come back. And so, he says a lot of times the other guys on the team talks about how smart he is. And he says, I'm not smarter than any of you. I just work hard. So I hope that helps somebody, because I tell you, that was tough. I thought he'd never learn to read. I mean, it was quite the challenge. And then son number 3 is in the 10th grade, and he has his own challenges with ADHD and some of those things. He's super, super smart, super, super talented, but he has his own issues that one day I'm going to be able to help another parent who has a kid dealing with some of the same issues that he's dealt with. So it makes it worth it, I suppose.
Yep, that's phenomenal. You all have done a great job and continue to do a wonderful job in raising young men that will be major contributors to society in ways that we can't even understand right now, especially that astrophysicist, whatever he's doing.
Awesome.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
That is inspiring. So, Laquita, I have a question for you, and it is really, and I'm sorry, if you all have any questions for Laquita, please feel free to leave them in the chat function, and we will be monitoring it here. And we want to make sure that we ask the questions that are relevant to you all. So, thank you for tuning in. But Laquita, as it relates to corporate, because with your story that you just shared, it is really one that shows true resilience, and you having to do that as well as the balance of everything going on. As you think about even corporate America, what do you feel, if anything, is missing current day to support women leaders?
I think it's even bigger than women leaders, but certainly women leaders is the whole diversity, inclusion, and equity perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Of, we have amazing women in the workplace who are, super talented, gifted, hardworking. Why do we make 70 cents to the dollar of a man? That makes no sense whatsoever. And you think about some of these organizations where they used to be male only, and it wasn't until they started letting women in that they saw a lot of progress with change, positive progress with change. Women have such contributions to the world. We are the mother of everything. And, imagine some households that had the absence of, a woman or a female. And some households don't have that and are quite successful. But I think we just have such a gift. And I think any organization, any company that does not recognize that or see women to be second-class citizens, or see us to just be objects, or see us to just be administrative in nature, I think they've got a hard lesson, because a lot of studies show how much of a benefit diversity is for any organization as it relates to the bottom line, and how much more profitable companies are the more diverse their companies are. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to even think of companies that haven't learned that to this point, but there's still a lot of them out there, sadly to say.
Yeah, and that actually follows right up with the question that I was going to ask you. Do you still believe that gender discrimination exists in the workplace?
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I have a unique experience. I work for a company where our leadership and management and executives, we're a primarily female-led organization. But I am such in tune with so many other organizations where that is still a glass ceiling, a steel ceiling even. So many industries and professions where we're still grossly underrepresented. Yeah. There's still a lot of work to do. We're not all in the kitchen and we're not all maids anymore, but there's still a lot of work to be done still.
We've got a ways.
No doubt. Hey, Marilyn Stone sent you a shout out.
Hey, Marilyn.
And Tammy Winston.
Hey, Tammy. She's from my hometown. Yes.
And we got Arkansas in the house.
That's right.
All right. And Brittany Cole.
Hey, Brittany.
So Tammy said diversity and inclusion is a big deal in corporate America today. So she's kind of following up with what you said. Yeah. So it is. Want to let you know who's some of the people that are checking you out.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, friends.
Yes. Hey, Laquita, we want to give you a couple of seconds to grab a glass of water if you would like to. And while you're doing that, Sherelle will shout out our sponsors.
Okay, well, we'll give, how many of you guys are enjoying just Laquita's story? Such an inspiration. We definitely want to thank you all for tuning in to Women with Grit. This is the first one for our series this year, so we're super excited to have you all in the room today. Again, remember to like, share, and see us here every week. And also go ahead and share this out with others as well. We want to take the time to thank our sponsors who are on the line. One, you guys, if you heard that amazing intro, that was done by the tune of Melvin M. Miller. Be sure to check him out. And we also want to thank, okay, Leah, I got to pull him up again. I already closed up now.
I'll do it. MJC Insurance Group. Shout out to Lisa or Cassandra at mjcins.com. Again, and MJC will shop over 30 companies to help you find the best property and casualty insurance for you and your family. the homeowners, motorcycles, boats, whatever you have, summer homes, they're happy to help you get coverage for them. Mr. Terrell Perry at Terrell@MolletteInvestmentServices.com, TERRELL at MolletteInvestmentServices.com. Terrell is ready to help you get your 2021 plan together, your financial plan. He's ready to help you get it together, your wealth building plan. He's ready to help you get it together. He's ready to help you get your life insurance together. And he'll also help guide you in the process of estate planning. How many of you all don't have a will? Don't raise your hands. I have one. But if you don't have one, you need one. Even if you think you don't need one, you need one. You'll have people fighting over your pennies. So, make it be easy on your family. Go ahead and get a will done. And just make that something that you focus on in the next 30 days. Estate planning is very important to do, and you should do it. And then SherelleLands.com. Just go check out her website and just see all the offerings that Sherelle has with her, with everything that you need to get your life together, your corporate life together, get balance, to help you succeed in your endeavors. It could be a business, it could be corporate, it could just be family. Really, we have to invest in ourselves. So SherelleLands.com. Check out any upcoming empowerment series that she has coming up, and just make sure you utilize those things and tools to help you move your life forward. Also want you to check out thetableaction.com, www.thetableaction.com. It's a new initiative in Nashville, and it's something that I was on the phone with a woman in North Carolina yesterday, and she wants to us to start this up in parts of North Carolina as well. But essentially what we're doing, Kate Herman and I is we're bringing people together, corporate leaders, business leaders, and folks that are really people of color that are really trying to get their careers, their businesses to the next level. And the folks that we're bringing in, they're gonna sponsor you. They're gonna help you. They're gonna open up their Rolodex. So we have people like Daryl Freeman that's going to be a part of it. We have a gentleman named Sean Buck, who's the CEO of J.E. Dunn Construction Company. So we have Pat Emery. So when you drive down Broadway and you look at where the National Museum of African American Music is, he's the developer of that entire complex. So people like that, John Ingram Industries, the wealthiest people in the state, they're all a part of this, and they're going to open up their Rolodexes and help you to grow your business by connecting you with the right people that you need to know to move your business forward. They're also going to help you if you're just trying to move your career forward and you find yourself stuck. They call it the black ceiling, the glass ceiling, whatever they call it, you're stuck. And a lot of times we're training our next supervisor or boss, and we do it 3 or 4 times before we realize these people are really not going to promote me. And so sometimes you just got to get out of there. And so these folks are going to help you get your career to the next level. So check out thetableaction.com. We're really excited. Sherelle Lands is one of the sponsors of the table, and so we're excited that she's a part of it as well. Laquita, are you out there? Anything that I missed, Sherelle?
No, you are absolutely good. I definitely think it is necessary when we talk about the table, and just when you're in that space, you definitely know the value of having a mentor, sponsor, and a coach. And that's where a sponsor and a mentor are so important. So welcome back, Laquita. We have a phenomenal subset of questions. So I want to go ahead and begin asking them. Excuse me. I'm going to start with a question from Brittany Cole. She says, historically, DEI initiatives have advanced white women more than any other demographic. What advice would you give to corporate leaders on advancing Black women in corporate?
That's a great question. Great question, Brittany. And it's a hard question. I have worked with an organization where their entire C-suite are white females, and they are often taunting that they're diverse. And I'm like, no, you're not. If everybody's the same, you're not diverse. And I do think DEI initiatives, along with affirmative action, we're typically not the people who benefit the most from that. And where I serve on different boards and nonprofits, I feel like I'm the watchdog for that. And I am the voice for bringing that to their attention. And I think, where I can affect that is certainly where I try to have the courage to do that. Inside my own organization, I will tell you, I'll share this story with you. So right after the George Floyd murder, that week for me it was traumatic. I was emotional. I was emotionally invested in what had happened. And I was attended this Zoom call with a lot of my peers. And in that moment, I felt so alone because I was the only African-American on that call. And it made me reflect to when I started with the organization back in 1996. I was the first and only African-American at that level of management. Today, I'm the only African-American at that level of management. And so I got myself together because I'm like, okay, I have to say something because life seems to have gone on for them, but I'm stuck in this place. I was on this call where people's mouths were moving and they were talking, but I couldn't hear them because I had all of this other noise going on, trying to just sort through how a man could be choked out and it would be okay. Mm. And I will tell you, I wrote a letter to the entire executive board. And I will tell you, I have never been more supported, felt more supported. And a number of initiatives were put in place immediately to address those things. And I think it just takes courage. Where we see it, we have to call it out. Mm-hmm. And, if we call it out in our own places of work and, there's no care or concern for you and the impact of that for you and people like you, that may be not where you need to be. Yeah. It may be time to go somewhere where you can be valued and feel important and not be the only one. Because I don't have to tell you, when you're the only one, you know it. Nobody has to point that out. Nobody has to make a big production about it. Not that it necessarily always prohibits you from, performing to your best potential, but it is noticeable and it's not necessarily the most comfortable place to be.
No, that's good. Thank you. And thank you so much. Some of the feedback has been, just the emotional tax, and the audience loves that. So thank you for speaking up, and it takes courage. That was from Brittany. Valerie would love to know, and thank you so much for your questions. Valerie would love to know what woman inspires you and why.
Is that Mrs. Millette?
Yes.
Another self-proclaimed introvert.
Valerie, we're bringing you on too. Okay.
You better be nice because see, we log off. You got to deal with the proclaimed introvert at your home. I would have to say my mother. She has to be the hardest working human being I've ever met. Who, you could call her at 2:00 in the morning. She's probably still up doing something. She always gives more than is required and is expected. She always makes it her business to be helping other people. She retired about 3-4 weeks ago, and I still can't catch up with her most of the time during the day. So I think her grind and her grit rubbed off on me, and she's been my inspiration. She's influenced so much of who I am today, along with a lot of other strong women from my hometown, where they didn't take any mess and they demanded excellence and hard work, and they pushed you. And I just think I grew up in a community of women like that, in a family of women like that. So I've been blessed. I truly had a village that pushed me to be the very best I could be.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Valerie would also like to know, what do you think is the most significant barrier to increasing women in leadership roles?
Men. Men. Yeah, I mean, get up, move out the way.
A barrier and a bridge.
Yes. Right. Seriously, though, I do think that you still have a segment of the world who thinks that, the top seat should belong to a man. And a lot of times, even them, when they do their succession planning, they never even consider that a woman could be great in that role. Yes. So I know that was a smart mouth answer, but it's really true. I've never been asked that question, but I really do think that a lot of times it's men, and sometimes we get in our own way. Sometimes we put those limiting barriers on ourselves. I think for men, they know they don't qualify for the job and they go for it anyway. And for us as women, we think, okay, there's 10 things on this list and 2 of them I don't have, so I'm not ready.
Very true. Mm-hmm.
And so I think sometimes we create those barriers to our career progression in our own minds.
Mm-hmm. The self-demise mentality often cripples our ability to succeed. Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Again, if you all have any questions for Miss Laquita, feel free to leave them in the chat, and I'll go ahead and make sure that we bring them up so that she can answer your questions. So can you talk about having white allies in your sphere and why that might be important?
Yes. I think there's so much power and connection and building your network of contacts and people who you can call on, who you can bounce things off of, who you can get advice from, people who will make a call on your behalf. And so you have to, it's great to build that within your own intimate circle, but that will only get you so far. And so I think you have to expand that and cast the net. So Lee is one of those people that every now and then I'll call him and get his advice about something. But I also was on the phone with 2 white ladies today who gave me great counsel and good advice. And both of them I know would make a call on my behalf or would give me an unconditional reference or recommendation if needed. And so I think it's important that in some ways, as you're building your career and your network, you got to kind of get beyond the whole color sphere, because, one thing I'm amazed by, now I will say Nashville, my experience initially is Nashville is a pretty cliquey city. And it's really hard and you really have to work to infiltrate that. But I will say, once you've done the work and gain the credibility to get inside of that, people, white, Black, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, young and old, there are some very, very, very helpful people who will go out of their way to help you and support you in whatever it is you're doing. So I think it is important to have your white allies because they too have networks that if we just stayed inside our own spheres of influence, we may not ever be able to get to some of the people that they can help connect us to. That's been my experience.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So Daryl Freeman said, being in a position of power is different from speaking truth to power. A lot of folk are more worried about their pay than their purpose. Good job, Laquita.
Thanks, Daryl. I agree completely. And Daryl and I had an opportunity a few years ago to serve on a panel together. And I was just so amazed. He was shocked at my comment at the end. I'm like, Daryl, I had no idea we had so much in common in terms of thought. And so, yeah, he's one of those people I hold in high regard, who I would consider a mentor as well. And what I love about Daryl is the fact that he has been successful and he's not selfish with his story. He's not selfish with telling you how you too can accomplish some amazing things. And so, yes, Daryl, thank you for being on tonight and tuning in.
That's awesome. Well, Laquita, we want to make sure that we give you an opportunity to shout out. How can our viewers connect with you? How can they follow you and what you're doing? How can they support you?
Well, I'm on all the social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and LinkedIn. I love to connect with people. So if we're not already connected, please look me up. Also, I am serving as president and board chair of Cable this year. And so it is an organization that was started because we couldn't join some of these men-led organizations. And it's an organization where women come together, we network, we connect women to opportunities. And it's just a great organization that's been around about a little over 40 years. So right now we're in a very virtual space. So you don't even have to be in Nashville. Most of our events we stream on Facebook, or you can register and attend them for free just to get a feel for cable. And then if you're local, certainly we'd love the opportunity when outside opens back up and we start having face-to-face events again. We'd love to have you join us there. We have all kinds of programming to help a woman wherever she is in her career. And so we'd be happy I'd love for you to connect with me there also.
Awesome. Any Facebook hashtag, call them hashtags, right? Not pounds, hashtags, right? Hashtags. To follow you?
No, I think all of my platforms are wide open. You send me a request and we can connect right there.
Okay, awesome.
Well, Laquita, we found that we have men that watch our program, and one of the things we see is overnight, over the next couple of days, I mean, a lot of people tune in. But so you're a very successful woman. You're strong in your own right, but you have a husband that's right there with you. What is it about him? What is it, if you're giving a man advice on how to support their strong, successful woman, what is it that he does that, so it's your chance to brag on him, that really holds you down and helps you move forward? It doesn't hinder you from what you're doing.
Well, I don't know that he had a book of how to do it, but he's done an amazing job of, he's always supported everything I've done, probably even some of the things he had questions as to, okay, really? So his support has been truly unconditional, and whatever I've asked him to do, he's stepped right in, and those things that I didn't even know the words to ask for, if he saw, the way he needed to support me, he's always been right there, and he's never had an issue with whatever I needed to do what I needed to do. Mm-hmm. And so that makes serving and working a lot easier when you know that you've got that support at home. And if I needed some help with something, he's always right there. And certainly with having 3 children, we tag team that. And so my husband has a full-time job. He's worked for Tennessee State University for almost 30 years in the agriculture extension department. But we also own several hundred acres of land in Arkansas. And my husband grew up on a farm. And so he farms part-time too. So there's certain times of year, harvesting, plant season, and all of that other stuff that I don't understand when, he's in Arkansas and I'm here tending to the home and family and working. And then we tag team it because prior to COVID, I traveled a lot with my job as well. Thankfully, both of our jobs, we have a lot of control of our own calendars, so we could pull the calendars out and see who was going to be gone when to make that work. And so it truly is a blessing when you have a partner where, you can work as a team to accomplish what you need to do professionally, as well as taking care of home and family.
Awesome.
That is awesome. Go ahead, Lee.
So as you look to the future, you look at 2021. How are you approaching 2021? It already started off crazy. That's those things. you might have had plans last week, but they were all thrown off. So this may be your first week back. But what as you approach 2021 and maybe even all your years, how do you approach them? What do you do to set yourself up for success each year?
I usually take off the last 2 weeks of the year and spend some time with myself, where some of the noise, gets quieted down a bit. And I really look at and assess, what did I accomplish this year that was meaningful? And then what is there still that I want to accomplish? And I set goals for the following year. And in those goals, a lot of times it's those things I want to accomplish. And then sometimes it's what are those things I'm going to stop doing. I think those things are just as important because, again, we only have 24 hours in a day. And if you don't own your day will run off and own you. And I've learned that, being busy isn't necessarily being productive or being progressive. Right. And so I had to learn to really decipher and discern, where best to spend my time. Because now as I've gotten older, I see time as a value, as an asset. It's not just this thing that goes around on this thing. I see it as something that you can never get back and you can never get more than God grants you. And so you have to really be protective of that. So every year, those last 2 weeks of the year, I really spend time with myself figuring out what it is I want to do and accomplish the next year.
What's your favorite song? Just random question.
Oh, wow. That is very random because Lee, I am like hardly ever am I somewhere and music is not playing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm a big R&B person, old and new. I like a little hip hop. It depends on the mood. Okay. I don't know if I have a favorite song.
Give us an old.
Oldie
but a goodie.
Well, how about I tell you who some of my favorite artists are? So here's a funny story. So Gerald Levert was like my favorite.
Fatima said Gerald Levert for you too.
Oh my gosh. I have probably been to 20 concerts and I drug my husband to many of them before we were even married. He gave me a teddy bear at one of his concerts. And so my kids know as they were little kids, that is not a bear you can play with. So when the day Gerald Levert died, my team knew how crazy I was about Gerald Levert. And they spent time trying to figure out who was going to call and break the news to me. And it was probably 5 years before I could listen to his music. I mean, I was tore up. But I love India.Arie and your Jill Scott and your Erykah Badu. And I'm a big Chris Brown fan. And some things I'm probably not proud to say. I do listen to a little bit of ratchetness. But yes, I love music.
We all listen to it. We all listen to it because, we have to know what our kids are listening to.
Yes. Yes. I try to listen to the clean version.
Sometimes it's almost impossible now. The barriers have gotten so thin between what they'll let you play on the radio, what they play, even what's said on TV these days. It's just, I think Shonda Rhimes is just, blowing a lot of that stuff up anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like clean.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, awesome.
Yeah. So thank you. I just look at the time; it's blown by so quick. It's been definitely a great time, and we're just very happy that you would kick off 2021 for us, Laquita. Do you have any last words or anything that you want to share before we close out?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for inviting me and having me. I have been tuned in, and there have been some awesomely amazing ladies on this show. So to have been included is certainly humbling for me. But I would just say, ladies, the world it's a big, wide open world. And I would say, remove the barriers that we create for ourselves of thinking we can't do this or can't do that. In the city of Nashville, I have just been so impressed with the things that ladies are doing, like Brittany Cole, who's on this call. She's incredible. And she's an inspiration to me. I don't know that I've ever told her that, but I think that there's so much we can do as women. All we have to do is put our mind to it and figure out what resources we need. Get a mentor. I have several mentors for different aspects of my life. Some of them we don't formalize the relationship by calling it that, but that's truly what it is. And then you also need to always have that group of ladies who will tell you about yourself. I have some of them, my sisters, Tarona, Cheryl, and the other Keita. So I'm called Keita Q. And she's called Keita K, my best friend since first grade. Both of our name is Laquita, and her grandmother had to find a way to distinguish us, but they never let me get too big on myself. They're very loving and supportive and encouraging, but they will get me in check if necessary. And everybody needs those in your life. So I'm blessed to have had some amazing ladies to serve as mentors and dear friends through this journey of life. And many, many men also. So Lee, Daryl, I appreciate each and every one of you and all the support that you guys have given me in my career as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, you're a rock star. I think anybody that didn't know knows now. But we definitely knew already. And again, I shout out Daryl Freeman earlier at the top of the show. Check out his YouTube page, Cockpit Conversations. It's just, as Laquita says, he's one of those brothers that will, he's going to give you what he has. And what he has is what he used to help build a business, sell a business. His wife, Gloria, raised 4 kids. And actually, they raised them together. But Gloria's no joke. But they raised 4 wonderful children that are doing very well also. And just, they're just good people, and they definitely give back. But check out Conversations, and then check out his YouTube page. He does these, I think, OG Fridays or something like that. And he just picks up a topic and runs with it. So it's all free. So check him out. Sherelle, the boss, what do you have for us?
Nothing, but thank you so much, Laquita. I mean, when you get a chance, please go back and look at the comments. I mean, it has definitely been an engaging session. Thank you all for joining in again for this phenomenal guest, Laquita. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to her, whether it be directly or reach out to her in the chat function. If you know someone who could benefit from this message, feel free to like and share it. And we look forward to seeing you. If you know of a stellar woman that you would like for us to bring on the show, feel free to email us. We are definitely sorting through that as well. We have a phenomenal guest next week, which I won't announce yet. So you'll have to make sure that you tune in throughout the week for her. So thank you so much. Lee, do you have anything else before we close?
The only thing I was going to add is the great thing about this platform is, we had Anyango on before Christmas, and she was in Colombia, South America. So that's we great. Can, wherever the person is that you want to recommend, don't worry about the location, geographic location. Just let us know, and we'll assess and try to get them on. So thank you all. Go check out our Facebook page and like it. And we're getting ready to hit YouTube soon, so we'll announce that.
As well as podcasts coming soon.
So thank you. Thanks again, Laquita. As always, you're the bomb.
Yes.
I think what you shared with us and what you shared about your sons, I think that's just so empowering, especially as we look at people that are raising young Black boys and teaching them how to be men and the struggles that can go through. Because, if that teacher hadn't really recognized, what your son was telling her, and he was communicating, he didn't know that most people didn't know what he was saying, but if she hadn't recognized it, she could have steered him on another path. Yep. And so often that happens with our boys. And so it's phenomenal. It's wonderful that she did that. And before we know it, he'll have his doctorate too. So
he says no. He says an MBA is plenty.
That's all he needs. Okay. He's still young. But thank you. Everybody have a fantastic week. Thanks again to our sponsors. And again, make sure you let everybody know that Women with Grit is back for season 2. We have some phenomenal people lined up. Have an amazing day, evening, and an amazing week.
That's right.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.